please the tribunal. The grave charges in this case have not been laid before the tribunal casually or unreflectingly. The indictment accuses these men of major responsibility for visiting upon mankind the most searing and catastrophic war in modern history. It accuses them of wholesale enslavement, plunder, and murder. These are terrible charges. No man should underwrite them frivolously or vengefully, or without deep and humble awareness of the responsibility which he thereby shoulders. There is no laughter in this case. Neither is there any hate. The world around us bears not the slightest resemblance to the Elysian Fields. The face of this continent is hideously scarred, and its voice is a bitter snarl. Everywhere man's works lie in ruins, and the standard of existence is purgatorial. The first half of this century has been a black era. Most of its years have been years of war, or of open menace, or of painful aftermath. And he who seeks today to witness oppression, violence, or warfare need not choose his direction too carefully nor travel very far. Shall it be said then that all of us, including these defendants, are but the children of a poisoned span, and does the guilt for the rack and torment of these times defy apportionment? It is easy thus to settle back with a philosophic shrug or a weary sigh. Resignation and detachment may be inviting, but they are a fatal abdication. God gave us this earth to be cultivated as a garden, and not to be turned into a stinking pile of rubble and refuse. If the times be out of joint, that is not to be accepted as a divine scourge, or the working of an inscrutable fate which men are powerless to effect. At the root of these troubles are human failings, and they are only to be overcome by purifying the soul and exerting the mind and body. This case, like any criminal proceeding, finds its justification only as part of this process of redemption and reconstruction. We have been told from the mountain to judge not that we be not judged, and we will do well to reflect upon and seek to comprehend this profound prohibition. It is at once the touchstone of the judicial process and the core of this particular and fateful proceeding. This solemn injunction, far from being a bar to the jurisdiction of the tribunal, is its foundation. It reminds the individual of his own frailty and fallibility. It is not for any man to pierce the veil and divine the great absolutes. The judge must not judge in his own name, nor uninstructed. He judges under laws derived from revered scriptures and the wisdom of the ages, and declared or commonly accepted as binding by the community, large or small, whose agent and servant he is. That is why the judicial robe is a garment of humility, not of pride. But this mandate is not for judges only. It is universal. It warns man not to set himself up as better than his fellows, and not to impose his personal notions of good and evil on his neighbors. It is an exhortation against arrogance, presumption, and vanity. It is a divine ordinance of rights and duties among men. From it are derived all the great proclamations of human dignity in modern times, and on it are bottomed the very principles of law under which these defendants are to be tried. The crimes with which these men are charged were not committed in rage or under the stress of sudden temptation. They were not the slips or lapses of otherwise well-ordered men. One does not build a stupendous war machine in a fit of passion, nor an Auschwitz factory during a passing spasm of brutality. What these men did was done with the utmost deliberation, and would, I venture to surmise, be repeated if the opportunity should recur. There will be no mistaking the ruthless purposefulness with which the defendants embarked upon their course of conduct. That purpose was to turn the German nation into a military machine and build it into an engine of destruction, so terrifyingly formidable that Germany could, by brutal threats and if necessary by war, impose her will and her dominion on Europe. and later on other nations beyond the seas. In this arrogant and supremely criminal adventure, the defendants were eager and leading participants. In conquered Poland, Ambrose was shown a town where one of Himmler's largest concentration camps had just been built. The town was Oswiecim, known to the Germans as Auschwitz. Ambrose found the site otherwise suitable and was particularly interested in the possibility of using the concentration camp inmates to erect the plant, all of which was reported to the other defendants. They agreed, and construction of the Farben Auschwitz plant was promptly undertaken. What happened at Auschwitz during those years will later be set forth in some detail. Himmler, for a price, furnished the defendants with the miserable inmates of his camp, who slaved and died to build the Buna factory. The technical complexity of the synthetic dye industry, and particularly the inevitable production of numerous byproducts, for which some practical use was always being sought, led to an impressive flowering of chemical by the rest of the world would then, in my opinion, be assured. In 1904, Duisburg succeeded in laying the first foundation stones of the